see a lot of snow here. We got 12 to 14 inches here the other day, and we're gonna get some more here in the next day or so. And I'll just give a quick update here. You know, happy 2024, happy New Year. I know I'm a little bit late for that, and this is not a New Year vlog or anything like that, but I do need to update you. The last time I left you on our trip to New Zealand, our last vlog, we haven't even updated it. But yeah, I did get one little message, a comment. It was quite rude. I mean, it was fair enough with the point he was making, but he was really rude about it. I just deleted the comment. It was like, "You're long-winded and boring. You should get off the train and meet the real New Zealanders. Why are you telling us about New Zealanders you met in Thailand?" So while your comment, whatever your name was, it was the AU in gold or something like that, I at least should have given you a preface or disclaimer that this episode I was gonna just go into story time and I would update you on my actual experience in New Zealand and the New Zealanders I met in the following episode, which is this episode, which I'll tell you about in just a minute here, about what I got up to in my weekend in Picton and who I met there. You know, this vlog is called The Thai American, and it's about my life as a Thai American in Thailand and USA prominently. So me going into story time about who I met in Thailand and having to show footage that I had of the New Zealand train ride, you know, that's on me. And if you don't like it, you find it boring, then move right along. I hope the rest of you enjoy this little update and whatever updates I have. I know all 10 of you who might see this enjoy. And for the rest of you, so long. Enjoy your life. Don't get lost on the way out. Thank you. You're tuning in to The Thai American. Brought to you by someone kind of like you. Welcome back to the vlog, folks. Yes, our final weekend in New Zealand, we visited the north part of the South Island to what they call Queen Charlotte Sound or Marlborough Sounds. Basically the Cook Strait, and there's a town there called Picton, little town there, and it's where you would board a ferry to go to Wellington on the North Island or vice versa. So for my short yet sweet stay in this little harbor town on the north tip of the South Island, I got to explore a little bit on foot, some nice hiking trails up and around town, and I met a few locals here, which I'm going to tell you about in just a minute as soon as I share a special message from our sponsor, Planet Earth. Seriously, anybody who is suffering or has suffered from bad knees, feet, joint, ligament, leg pain issues that might be related to inflammation, other than addressing the root cause or some of the root causes of your pain and your suffering, for example, your diet, something you might be eating in excess of, or drinking something in your water or your food that causes inflammation, excess inflammation at your joints. Other than addressing that, another thing you can do to get some relatively instant relief and do it regularly is to just ground. You know, if you have any dirt trails, earth trails, grass gardens, just take your shoes off. All you need to do sometimes is just neutralize a lot of those electrons, and then you can address the inflammation directly. If you have any kind of earth trails near you, we live on the planet Earth, so certainly a lot of that can be addressed by just grounding, earthing. I've had many cases where I've just been wearing indoors shoes for very long periods of time, and you have feet pains, your legs start aching, your knees start hurting, and all you do is ground for 15 minutes at a time, and you'll find that it is very effective. Like I said, you have to address all of your root causes. You can't just have any one magic fix, but doing this for 15 minutes at a time or more on any kind of earth trail, take your shoes off. You'll be happy you did. And I'm not talking about like instant magic fix, like do it one time and all your knee joint problems will be fixed forever. This is something you got to do regularly. Grounding with electricity and neutralizing electrons. That's basically what we're talking about. Especially if you're in an office or city environment, indoor environment for hours on end, and you're sitting in an EMF, an electromagnetic field of your Wi-Fi working, social media, all that for hours on excess, you are going to be inflamed. Definitely your body and your cells are going to be inflamed, because that's a lot of exposure. We're not meant to be exposed to that stuff all the time. And of course you're adapting, you're surviving, but you are inflamed, and inflammation in excess obviously can cause other problems. And so definitely something you should regularly do, I suggest. Obviously you can't get away from the modern EMF fields unless you're like a hermit living off the grid, outside of everything, which is not likely most of you who are able to listen to this. You're surrounded by it, and there's nothing you can do about that aspect of it, but you can mitigate situations by getting outside, breathing fresh air, and of course grounding, because that will help a lot of your issues if you are someone who's indoors a lot. So that's my suggestion. Again, not an instant fix, not a one-off magical elixir, but definitely a healthy habit to have. You do have to wear shoes in the cities, I suggest. Grounding doesn't work when you're walking on pavement or concrete. So.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program. So down there in the town of Picton, there's a lot of backpackers coming through here, a lot of travelers. I decided to stay in this guest house here right near the harbor. Really cheap. I think I paid $20 for a bed. Maybe it was $15. Yeah, it was really interesting experience to go and sleep in a proper hostel like this and imagine I was 20 years old again. If anything, there's a lot of inspiration in going into a place like this and seeing all the various colors and artifacts and all the different travelers from all around the world coming to exchange stories and talk about where they've been and where they're going. A lot of good energy there. And, even speaking of good stories, the owner of this place, she was a very interesting character. Shira. You could, as soon as you met her, she was very hands-on, running her hostel, interacting with all the various guests. She had many, many nuggets, stories to share with her guests, and very sincere and outgoing and energetic lady. Originally from the U.S., you can see her story here posted on the screen there. Her background that humans have picked into with her that I found, and I'm just going to show it to you here. You can read it. But yeah, she is a Kiwi national. Some people will be like, well, what, you go out all the way to New Zealand and you talk with an American? That's not a local. Well, save it. But anyway, she is married to an original native New Zealander, as you can see in the story here. And I met him briefly here, but that's another story. But herself, yes, very welcoming, very hospitable lady, and I definitely recommend anybody who is going through town to consider staying there if you can manage staying in a bunk. There was one story there, probably me too. I was snoring as well, and I was in the corner with some guys, the snorers, I guess, because the Japanese guy, that was older Japanese guy who was staying in the bunk nearby, he was snoring, and there was like some maybe 20-year-old, maybe she wasn't even 20, 19-year-old, like young blonde girl in the because it was a co-ed bunk space, so she came over and was like having to hush us up from snoring. Can you guys stop snoring? And of course, it was very interesting. So unless you're sure you don't snore, maybe you don't stay in a co-ed bunking space. But anyway, interesting times. So yes, shout out to Shira and the whole crew at Atlantis for making my short but sweet stay there comfortable and memorable, I'd like to say. Oh, almost forgot, my short interaction with Shira's husband, Howard. He came into the kitchen one morning and he scolded me. He scolded me, why? Because I was breaking a tradition, or I was offending him. I had my hat, my cowboy hat, my Stetson there on the table. And that's something you're not supposed to do in New Zealand, because the table is considered, according to the Maori tradition, a very sacred place. Food is sacred, it's high, and so anybody's hat or head is an insult almost. And so lesson learned there. In Thailand, the head is considered very, very high, but I get it. Food is definitely sacred all around the world. Speaking of food, here's another guy I met. Sorry I didn't take any footage directly. I was too busy living life to be recording it. But anyway, this guy, Curly, I met him in the hostel as well. And you can find out about him. He was actually in the middle of running daily marathons to cross both the South Island and the North Island. He was just finishing up his run across the South Island, as the news story on here shows, and he was finishing up his last day there running, and he was in Picton, and I happened to meet him. He was really a humble guy, and we talked a lot about what he was doing, and basically he's running for charity for this organization that is basically addressing poverty in New Zealand, and specifically hungry kids, which was pretty interesting because I was just in New Zealand for a seed conference, and food in New Zealand is known to be renowned around the world to be a very leading supplier of various types of horticulture, produce, and food. So to know that there's actually kids there that are struggling is an interesting concept. And Curly was telling me about that. He himself has a kid who he's also keeping in the back of his mind. Right now, he's already finished the North Island, I saw, but you can follow him on Instagram. If you find him on the internet, I'll show you on the screen. And he has regular updates about where he's at now. His next task is to run all across Australia. So he ran across both islands, South and North Island, and next is Australia. So definitely something worthy of following him. This is how he does it. And this is one of his clips. Credit to Curly. And you can find him online and support his efforts as well. So the other activity I got into while I was in Picton, like I said, was to take some hikes. There's various trails. Here's Victoria Domain right there on the harbor, and you can go up. There's some viewpoints and nice nature trails. New Zealand in nature, at least the New Zealand that I saw, there's not a lot of wildlife or any at all obviously this is pretty close to a town, but unlike North America where you're always wondering if a bear or a mountain lion or a wolf's going to come out of the woods and eat you, I didn't feel that any kind of danger like that at all. That's nothing. But anyway, really nice hikes to be had, not just here, Victoria Domain. There's another one just to the south, another nice hike just to the south where you can summit and get a nice viewpoint of Picton, just to the south of Picton Harbor itself. But I'd also like to finish my stories that I started on my train update last time, where I was telling you about the New Zealanders I met, worthy of memory, at least still in my memory. And I told you about Aaron, I've told you about Damon, and there's at least one more that I met fairly recently, and also in Thailand. So if you don't want to hear a story about people I met in Thailand, then go right along. This guy's name was Matthew, and I met him in the town where I have set up roots, Prachuap Khiri. And this guy, he looked a lot like Curly, very similar genetics. I would say that, maybe a little bit younger than Curly. Curly's probably in his 60s, I want to say, maybe early 60s, if I were to guess. But this guy, Matthew, probably late 40s, early 50s. And very similar looking to the guy Curly you saw in his photo. But anyway, I met this guy on Prachuap Beach Bay, and I always met him at the nighttime. He brought his bike from New Zealand. It was a special bike to him. He didn't want to buy a new bike. He had transported it from New Zealand to Thailand, and he was spending a lot of time in Prachuap Khiri, my favorite place in Thailand as well. And he was always on the beach every night around sunset. He was always reading a Kindle, some story or another. And I got to know him. I'd drink some beers with him. We'd buy beers from the shop, and have a spliff or two on the beach in Thailand, Prachuap Khiri, and he'd tell me about his stories. He was one of those guys who was an oil contractor, where he'd go work on an oil rig out in the sea somewhere for 3 months on, and then 3 months off. He'd have a lot of money saved up, and he would go somewhere and spend it all. So he was one of those, and he was into construction, and he was really into boats as well. He had a love for boats and memories of growing up and around boats in New Zealand. And he was always talking about he wanted to build a catamaran. Like, there's this guy in North America who built catamaran from PVC pipes, and he wanted to build this boat, and it was one of his dreams that he was going to do, and he was going to get plans to build a PVC boat and just sail it around, probably in New Zealand. I don't think he planned to stay in Thailand. However, it was pretty good to get to know him a while. We got pretty close and friendly, similar to the other guy, Damon. Like, really, really easygoing, really easy to get along with. But then, all of a sudden, one day, I came to the same beach, and there he was, hanging out there on the beach with his Kindle. But he was different. He had a switch had flipped or something. I guess he was on the drink or something too long, and he was just basically ignoring me. Like, all of a sudden, we were buddy, and just out of nowhere, he completely switched off and was a different person, and I was like, whoa, what the heck, man? Yeah, so to make a long story short, I don't know what happened to Matthew. Something was going on in his life, or got ill or something, or either way, it fizzled out. I never talked to him, never saw him again. He stopped coming to that same spot on the beach after that. And on that note, I was very grateful to have met someone like Matthew, just as I was to have met, Aaron and Damien, which I told you about in the last clip, and Shira and Howard, and the others that I've met.
Why, till he streams, says the yellow sign.
Door closed. Please press button to lock. Door locked. Your maximum use time is 10 minutes. Press button to unlock door.
Yeah, I'm sorry, New Zealand. You guys don't get the award for the best bathrooms in the world. That goes to Japan by far. Of course, I would take a Thai bathroom, even a country bathroom over this any day. But yeah, that was the theme. I saw a lot of that in New Zealand. This high-tech, technocracy implementation throughout the cities. They're almost cashless. You can still use cash and coins in New Zealand, but a lot of places going on the bus, everything was cashless. And I think a country like New Zealand, they're really embracing this new Great Reset technocracy type system, at least parts of it that I've seen. I'm not going to say the whole blanket of New Zealand is like that. I'm sure there's a lot of resistance there too. But it is a country of only 5 million, and it's easier to implement certain policies on that level when compared to somewhere like Europe or North America, where you have so much different, diverse mixings of ideologies and philosophies and people and culture. But not to say that New Zealand is at all lacking diversity. It definitely has a lot of that. It's on a smaller scale to be able to implement certain policies, and we're seeing a lot of that. And it has seen that a lot of that throughout its own history. As far as democracy, it's one of the only places in the world, for example, where prostitution isn't illegal. I don't want to say it's legal. It's regulated in some weird way. And in my brief experience in New Zealand could be summed up, and with New Zealanders in general, as short and sweet. Good while it lasted. Knowing enough to know that I don't know enough. Seeing enough to know that I haven't seen enough. And some closing clips here. This is Hagley Park. There's a great redwood from California. Here's a bong, a plastic bong. Wasn't mine, but it was interesting to see, like in North America in the old days when weed was illegal, you had a lot of people making bongs like this to get high. And so apparently that happens in the middle of Hagley Park, Victoria Lake. Very beautiful. And this last clip was my free dinner that I got from Singapore Airlines because they had a delay. I wasn't supposed to stay over in Singapore on the way back to Thailand, but there was a delay in the flight somehow, and they put me up in a nice hotel and gave me dinner. So that's all I wanted to share for that. And that concludes this update the series of updates on the theme of New Zealand in general. We're going to get back to the theme of this vlog, the Psy American, Thailand, and USA, my life. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Anyway, stay tuned for the next one. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.